Hortense Bolden achieved one of her life goals on November 20th, 2002, by dedicating the Thyne Institute Bell Tower and Visitor Center. Bolden was quoted as stating, "I wanted my grandchildren and great-grandchildren to know what it stood for, and I hope the spirit goes on and on." Glancy Spain, former vice chairman of Mecklenburg County Board of Supervisors, worked tirelessly alongside Bolden to ensure that the community of Mecklenburg County benefited in knowing the rich history of Thyne Institute for future generations. The spirit of Thyne Institute began in 1876, near the end of the Reconstruction era and at the beginning of the United States of America's centennial celebration. This was a year of new beginnings. One of those new beginnings was for African Americans in Mecklenburg County, Virginia, in the first school to educate young girls and boys in the region. John Johnson Ashenhurst, son of the Reverend J.Y. Ashenhurst, foresaw the need for schooling the African American population and began teaching students in whatever space was available. This most often resulted in students learning in tobacco warehouses. Seeing this, J.Y. Ashenhurst urged the United Presbyterian Board to establish a mission in Chase City, Virginia. In 1878, John Thyne deeded property to the board, and subsequently a two-story school was built on the property. Thyne Institute became the first school built for African Americans in Mecklenburg County, with a mission to promote educational programs and activities and strengthen community welfare. In 1914, Thyne received high school accreditation by the Virginia Education Association. The subjects taught at that time were Latin, calculus, Bible, music, and practical skills. The United Presbyterian Board established a mission, positioning Thyne as the first organized school for African Americans in Mecklenburg County. The school was expanded in 1893, when the boarding of students was introduced. The accomplishments of Thyne Institute came with significant sacrifice and dedication to its vision. The school suffered numerous setbacks, including fires, financial difficulties, and hostilities within the community between white and black populations. Even with much opposition, the Institute soared as an educational giant in a community that did not recognize education as essential to quality of life, but rather saw it as a deterrent to hard work. Students traveled hundreds of miles as far away as Ohio and New York to attend the school. Most boarding students came from the Norfolk, Virginia Beach, and Hampton Roads areas of Virginia. Thyne Institute became so successful that other schools throughout the southern U.S. followed a similar model set by Thyne. Many students who graduated from Thyne Institute subsequently continued their education by enrolling in various colleges and universities. In 1946, the Mecklenburg County Public Education System purchased Thyne Institute. Enrollment peaked about 4 years later with a student body of approximately 650 and a graduating class of more than 140 students. In the fall of 1952, Thyne Institute began to operate as a public elementary school for 1st through 7th grade students, while those in higher grades attended the new West End High School. By 1970, the buildings were torn down and the Chase City Elementary School was built on the Institute's original site. Before its journey completed, Thyne Institute enriched the lives of more than 5,000 students and their descendants, in addition to setting the standard of quality in education for African Americans throughout Mecklenburg County and beyond. Thyne Institute Memorial Incorporated was built to honor the lives and legacies of the many people who walked the halls of this prestigious institution. Thyne Institute Memorial's mission now becomes the conduit that links the past to the future for today's aspiring students and parents in Mecklenburg County. Graduates from Thyne learn to leverage the guiding principles of faith, critical thinking, education, persistence, and community resources to overcome obstacles and achieve their goals. Since the time of Thyne Institute, the Thyne Memorial Organization was created for charitable, educational, and social purposes to support and encourage the recognition of the historical significance of Thyne Institute. The organization is also listed on the African American Historic Sites database and has been placed on the prestigious Civil Rights in Education Heritage Trail. The trail, comprised of 41 sites with detailed interpretation and photos of each location, lists Thyne Institute as number 36 and is one of only a handful of historical education sites in Mecklenburg County. "Though silent, yet I speak," was the motto of Thyne Institute for its 77 years. Thyne Institute has a forever purpose: to inspire. Thyne Institute Memorial Incorporated tells the story of the American dream, of how ordinary people with few resources grew up to become successful and productive citizens of society. Their stories continue to spark hope and growth for students in how they envision their future today. From a historical perspective, Thyne Institute spawned a wave of community unification. Our renewed vision is to build upon the legacy of community unification in Mecklenburg County through the preservation of its history and building new programs based on its mission. The Thyne Institute's experience is far from being silent. It is rich with practical applications of hope that can inspire people of all ages today. If ordinary Virginian African Americans in 1876 had the courage to change their trajectory in the South after the Civil War, with far fewer community resources than we have today, then why can't we too take up this same mantle of courage? What did they learn? How did they achieve greatness? How did they survive? Those questions and more are answered in the stories of each of Thyne Institute's artifacts. Thyne Institute remains an active part of Virginia history. Its mission remains to give hope and inspiration to all generations to aspire to greatness.